So in this video, I want to share with you some keys to a six-figure marketing agency that I wish I knew 6 years ago. And really what prompted this video is I just got a few texts this morning from current clients that signed up like a few weeks ago, got their first deal in less than a week with my system, and are referring me more clients and referring me so well that they're saying I have two people that are going to start, don't need consultations. So I share all this because, one, if you'll notice on this channel, I don't really talk about selling and reading any scripts or saying this thing a certain way and handling all these objections and how to go and get a bunch of clients. I kind of just show you the results, how to get results, how to get good at Go High Level, how to get good at Facebook ads, how to think in systems and build systems well. And really, I would say if there were any one thing, that I could attribute to being able to get clients in, situations like this without any ad spend, without chasing people down, doing outreach or hiring anyone. It's my ability to get people results. And there's more to it than just me and how good I am. And I'll talk more about that here. But I wanted to make this video because I've been doing quite a few consultation calls with those of you that are watching content on the channel. And it's actually allowed me to learn a lot more about some of the challenges that, you guys are experiencing, and even just kind of reminds me of my journey along the way and just pitfalls to avoid, and just really how to, look at things a little bit differently so that you can actually get results. And, I think YouTube is really designed, right? And all of these social platforms are designed to kind of optimize for what will get clicked, right? Good thumbnails, good titles, hype, right? Hype results, hype things, right? And the consulting calls have actually showed me a lot about, either some sort of product or community or something that I've already kind of mapped it out just from a lot of the consulting calls that I've had, but that I feel I need to make because, I myself, right, even make content on YouTube that will generate views and things like that. I do my best to, in that content, really provide you like a realistic expectation of, how these things work and, what to really expect behind the curtain. I believe I do my best to show kind of behind the curtain. And so I was just seeing how many people are watching. It just seemed like so many people that I've spoken to are watching, other people's content or just confusing themselves. And so, I definitely intend on making content, whether it's a product or it's a community. I'm still not quite sure what the best format is going to be, but really just like the straight line path to, having a successful agency and using Go High Level, because when you start trying to piece these different things together from different people, or even use my channel, and you go out of order, it actually makes a huge difference. And I've seen that firsthand on these consulting calls. And these consulting calls have been super valuable for me because I can better understand, you guys and my audience and where you guys are at, where you guys are stuck, where there's, too much complexity, where you're confusing yourself. And so I wanted to make this video which was prompted really by this, to share with you just some keys to kind of have in your, your mind as you pursue this business model. Because, I can say that after, 6 years of doing this, I actually feel like I'm really getting the hang of it, and getting the hang of it from a technical perspective is, understanding the business model, understanding how to dial in your messaging, understanding your offer, understanding who, your service is really for, and understanding like how to get results and all of the technicalities that come with a business model, right? But I feel like what I've actually gotten much better at, which has taken a lot of time and really is only a result of what I believe to be, committing to the business model for, the last 6 years, is, mastering my self-sabotaging patterns. Because a lot of what I see on these calls is, people getting in their own way, and, how one little piece of content, whether it's from me or somebody else, can literally throw off your entire path. And I'm not here to tell anyone what they need to do or exactly how to do it, because at the end of the day, this is all everyone's individual journey. And, it's your responsibility to, know yourself, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and, just become better as an entrepreneur. And for me, and I think a lot of the people that I've had calls with, there's a huge element of like self-sabotage and like really getting into the emotional component, and not emotion being like just emotion, right? Humans, we're supposed to have emotion. We're supposed to get excited about what we're doing. We need to be inspired and passionate about what we're doing. If we don't have that, like this isn't going to be fun, right? So I'm not saying not to have emotion. I'm saying really not accurately being able to discern different emotions that come up, and misattributing those emotions to take action on other things based on those emotions. So an example could be, maybe you see a video or something, you're super clear, you're super committed on your next step for your agency or whatever it is. And then basically you go see another person's video. Maybe it's mine, maybe it's a piece of short form content. It could literally be anything. It could be an email, it could be anything. And, basically you watch this other video, you interact with this other kind of stimulus, and then that leads you into like a whole different thought pattern. And then before you know it, you're kind of unconsciously going in your Go High Level account, you're changing stuff around, you're changing your website, you're changing a funnel, you're doing all these little things. And I can speak to these things because I know this, this person, I know that. In the spiritual world, this is considered shadow work. And basically, what I feel has really unlocked this model for me. And like I say on my videos, I can't show you guys how to make a 7-figure agency, have a huge team and stuff like that. Number one, I'm not there. I've never claimed to be, and personally, that's not what I want for me out of this business model at this point in time, right? And so when I didn't really know what I truly wanted, right, I was listening to what other people were doing, and those people were the only reference points that I had for what I was creating, right? And those people are playing the perfect role that they're supposed to play, because that all led me to, what I'm sharing right now in this video. And maybe through watching my content, you realize that, you don't like the model that I have, right? And I've fully kind of accepted that as a creator of content on YouTube, that, there's going to be people that watch my content and say that it doesn't work, or say that I don't know what I'm talking about, or whatever it is. That's just anything that, we say or do is just, somebody somewhere is going to, have their own experience with it, right? And so really though, when I started this model, the only reference point was, have an agency with kind of a contractor, or, whatever it was, do outreach, focus. It was really, to simplify it, it was really indexed on marketing and sales, right? Like growing the business. And obviously that's really important if you want to make $1 million a year with this agency, right? But for me to have location freedom, time freedom, I don't have to put out any crazy fires. I'm working with people that are getting results. I can index more on results and making sure my clients are taken care of, right? And that creates referrals. So people wouldn't do this if it was just results, and people wouldn't do this if this was just, like how I'm, like my relationship, right? It has to be a combination of everything, like the value of the offer, right? The results that I'm getting, my service that I provide, how I'm treating them, do they like me? Do they trust me, right? There's a lot of things that have to click into place for referrals. And I think it's just as many to click in to dialing in an outreach strategy, right? So I just didn't, no one told me this, when I started. So, because it was just the way that it was. And to me, I kind of just, that was what I thought I had to do. But even if you look back at the initial conditions of when I started my agency, I was always doing what I'm doing now. I just thought that I had to do it the other way, because no one said, hey, dude, there's a way with what you're doing to really grow this and make it feel a certain way, make the money you want to make, design it that way. And so, these keys here are really based on my model and, what I've created, and what I really just want to make known as a possibility for all of you that are watching, because I didn't know that. And like I said, maybe you watch this and you're like, yeah, I definitely don't want to do this. Then that's great, right? And then maybe some people are, coming from other programs or other things, and they're like, man, I mean, I've gotten quite a few messages of people saying, they thought they had to, be these multi-million-dollar kind of agency owners, and then they realize, like, dude, if I could just make, a few grand a month or whatever, like that would change my life, right? So I'm just here to kind of, put my stake in the ground and just say, hey, this is what I'm doing over here. I'm not focused on, selling and in the sense of like I'm putting all these things together. My focus is adding value here on YouTube with content, and that's getting me these types of clients too. So I think people think, I'm just making YouTube to get affiliates and stuff, and it's not even true, because I'm interacting with real business owners that are using high level, and I'm helping them with cool stuff, and I'm getting investors to my done for you services and the SaaS. So there's a way to integrate everything, and to me, YouTube and content is the most efficient way to grow and create leverage. So, but I was never shown that. I thought there was no way to do that. So hopefully by this video and me kind of going through these keys here, You maybe just have like your own realization that, you can, like, it can be done differently, and I'm not here to say my way's better. It's the way I prefer. But, like when I get these messages, when I think back to, when I started and just remembering like cold calling people, I just, there's actually a video on my Instagram where, let me see if I can find it. Okay, so I found it, and I'll just play the beginning clips.
Myself, thanks. Don't call me and I shall block you. Thank you.
How long did they get you in there? 6 months? How's the conversion rate been on those? So you can go watch that if you want to see it. But the point was, I was just doing whatever I could, and I was just doing what was a reference point to me. And it was running ads and calling and and that still works, right? I'm not here to say it doesn't work, but with the way I want to design my life, I have something else that I'm designing. So I just didn't think this was possible. People would refer me, and like it would be the actual. I knew people would refer me, but I didn't know that people could refer me for the same service, and those people would get results and be happy with it, and it would also fit within the lifestyle that I wanted to create. And so I'll talk more about that as I go down the list, but hopefully these keys kind of help you. So the first key is to understand the equation. So this is an equation that I was taught by Sam Ovens. Sam has taught me a lot of things through his courses. And so this was I had been in business for like 2 years or 2.5 years before I discovered him. And basically, he kind of gave me the frames for like, this is what you're actually doing. I was kind of just selling and making money. But he kind of laid down the structure for like, here's how to actually like structure and frame what you're doing, right? So when I say understand the equation, it's this equation, which is niche times offer equals result. So you could almost imagine these like two keys, right? Basically unlocking this door. And basically I was swapping these around so many times, like by the minute, by the second. This is what I'm talking about with self-sabotage. It was like, oh, I'm doing this niche, then I'm doing that niche, and then I'm going and looking for that niche online, and then my mind was already getting in the way, like within seconds, right? And then I'm changing the offer. Well, what should the offer be? And then should I do it this way? Or I talk to someone, they say no, and then I'm like, oh, well, and then I would switch the entire thing up. And I always knew that, like once I learned this, I always knew that like I was messing with the equation, but I couldn't control it. So this is why I'm making this video, to hopefully just help you guys. And yeah, eventually I got it. And this is why this stuff is now happening, because I've got this dialed in. I've got the results. I have the reputation. It's truth. This is truth. I've done it. I'm not just saying I'm doing it or said that I could do it or know how to do it. This is what I'm doing. And it took me a lot to master myself to the point of being able to stick with this stuff. And I know it sounds crazy, but I'm just sharing with all of you that, this is the stuff I see from these calls get in people's way. they just switch stuff up, and they're going so wide, and then they just wonder why they're kind of always putting out fires or whatever it is. And so I also want to be clear. I in no way think that I've mastered myself. I just mastered myself enough to stick with this. So I want to make that clear. So you have to understand this equation, and some of these concepts I intend on probably going into more depth with, like I said, either some form of product or community. I think something's on the horizon. It feels that way because I do feel like there's like an order to getting here that I think people need just from the calls that I've been having. So that's the first thing, is you have to understand this and not screw with these, because if you start screwing with all of them, that's really what you're doing. If you're changing your niche, changing your offer, adding this thing, saying this one little thing, oh, we'll also do this, we'll also do that. Those little things, that's where this stuff will confuse people. So you need to stick with the niche, stick with an offer, and then ideally when those two things combine, you get a result, right? Which is, for me, $1.5 million profit in 2.5 years for my clients, and that's a small group of clients. I don't think it's even over 20. So I have people that are on my SaaS and stuff with results that I probably don't even know about, but these are actual done for you people. And like I said, it's not more than 20 clients that I've worked with in that time frame. It's probably closer to 10 or less, to be honest. So this is a very concentrated result, and it took me time to create this, for all of this to like manifest in form. And then this is like the nucleus of my success with this particular model. I've been successful with other, everything I've done in its own way, right? But this model, right, like a marketing agency that's duplicatable, I'm selling the same product to the same person and it gets results, right? This is a result of these results are for that particular business model. So that's that. Understand the equation. And obviously I'm just kind of glancing over each of these because I don't want, this would get quite long. But okay, know the numbers behind your Facebook ad system. So, what my agency does is we run Facebook ads to get appointments for real estate investors and wholesalers. That's what we do. So when I started, I didn't know my numbers. I just knew I could sell being a marketing agency. So I was just like, you're just going to close all these deals and all, and I had no idea. Now I know those numbers. And so because I know those numbers and I can communicate those numbers effectively to these potential clients, I'm able to set the right expectation for them to, one, right, invest enough money for them to get the results, stay long enough for them to get the results, and then also for them to keep themselves on the path of moving forward throughout their duration of working with me, because I told them up front, maybe you get a deal in the first week, but guess what? Maybe that deal falls out, right? At the end of the day, these are the numbers that I stand by, and if you can outperform them, great. But if we work together properly, this is where I would expect you to land, right? And I didn't know how to do this before because I share all these things from a place of truth. I've done these things, I'm not telling them what somebody told me. Like, I've actually seen it. These are my observations of the system. I've seen thousands and thousands of leads. I've managed more than $1 million of Facebook ads. So, I'm not just reading it or saying it. It's like, this is it. And, so, these are key, because this gets me the right client too. Whenever I would talk to people that I was starting to do this with that didn't get that, I mean, they never had success with the system, and we just didn't work well together. This goes in line with this, which is knowing your cost per lead and your cost per deal. So when you can give people a range of what their cost per lead is, right, and what their cost per deal should be over like a 3 to 6 month time horizon, that'll be helpful for them, because they can calculate your services, the ad spend, and, the margin of error if a deal falls out, right? So these are all key to getting the right client, right? Because you'll see getting the right client is a big part of getting the results, not just you, which I didn't know before. So, okay, I'd recommend knowing the number of leads to close a deal, because if you tell somebody, hey, it's going to cost you $3,000 to get a deal, right? Whatever the number is, $1,000. If they don't know how many leads that's going to take, they're going to start counting leads. Dude, we got 5 leads, none of them are responding. Dude, we got 10 leads, right? So this is key to like keep people at bay too, because it's like, hey, it's going to take you, X amount of leads to get a deal. So if they get 5 leads and it's going to take them 30 or 40 or 50 or whatever, it's like, well, it's going to take you 40, let's keep it going. And then this kind of keeps people like, oh, okay, cool. Like, because really what you're doing is like you're facilitating, I mean, this is at least what I think I'm doing. You're facilitating these clients to get that result that they want. And so you got to like stand firm in what you know, because if you get moved by what they're tripping on, then you're not doing your job. So your job is to say you're backing out too early, And I had a client that backed out at one point, and he messaged me, hey, I closed a $40K deal from the leads you got me. And then he signed back up. And if you look at the thread, I had told him, you're stopping too soon. So you gotta know, your numbers, because then you can communicate those effectively, set the right expectation for them. That allows you to know your cost per lead, your cost per deal, and the number of leads for them to close a deal. And that way you don't start tripping too. Because before, I used to start tripping and be like, oh shoot, dude, I would get 5-10 leads. These leads suck. Man, I wish I had those calls recorded. These leads are not serious. They're not answering. They don't know who I am. And okay, let me go change the ads. Let me go change the funnel. Let me go change all the follow-up. And I'd go berserk on this. And then when I would go talk to someone new, I'm taking on that energy from someone else. And then I'm like, well, now we're doing this and that. And then it just created all this chaos, really. So, yeah. Don't change niches. That's a key one. That's a whole video in and of itself, how to not change your niche. But what I talk about before, or excuse me, down here, which I think I'll just move it here, is if you run across other money making opportunities, you can consult on the side, right? If you're like starting from zero, or you're kind of starting up, over time you're going to need to, you'll know what's making more money and what's worth your time and stuff. But what I used to do was I would do this, but I didn't have a structure and a frame for it. So it would basically become me like switching niches versus saying, this is my niche, this is my system, this is my offer. You're not in this niche, not a fit for this offer, A, B, C, and D, whatever those things are. But I think I can help you. I do consulting on the side, or whatever, however you want to say it. You need a website, you need a funnel, you need whatever. It's X dollars. And then you have clarity in your mind that, hey, I'm not switching my niches and confusing myself and self-sabotaging myself. But I'm also not turning down other opportunities to make money, where you may run into those when you're starting, because, when I was starting from scratch from the very beginning, had I just only had my niche in this model, I wouldn't have had my actual start. My actual start was from quote unquote consulting. I didn't really see it or know that was what it was at the time. But that was where I was doing website. I was literally doing everything for, these clients. So that's why I say when you're starting, you're not going to run into every person being an ideal fit for this type of a service, because there's some things you have to consider here, which I'll talk about. And so, but they still may need a website or a funnel or an automation, and, that may help you get some momentum. So that's how I would kind of position that, is don't switch the niche and your core offer that eventually will be duplicatable and repeatable and scalable and allow you to just get clients, plug them into a system and have them get results. And then it just like creates this feedback loop. Like don't self-sabotage that, and the way you can do that is if you run into someone from another niche and you think you have the skill set to help them, you can consult with them and still help them make a connection, make money, and not ruin this kind of vision or North Star, assuming you want, what I'm sharing in this video. E-commerce is not local services and local services ads. So a lot of the people that I learned SMMA from that were getting crazy, not even that I learned from, but just that were in the space, when I started, were in e-commerce. And so the frame behind a successful e-commerce agency is just not the same as local services. And I can't speak too much to this. I did have an e-commerce agency for a period of time. And, basically, I mean, that's how I started with drop shipping, like for myself. And then I eventually had an e-commerce agency where I helped, a few stores sell their products with Facebook ads. And yeah, these are just two different things. I think the most simple way to explain it for now is just in terms of results. If you have a good e-commerce business that is making sales and maybe isn't retargeting or just not running ads in general, you can run good ads with a good system and put in $500 that day and make $2,000 the same day, like cash collected. With local services, especially real estate, the sales cycle, is probably at minimum 45 days. I mean, sometimes you'll get a deal that closes, faster. But I mean, by the time you talk to somebody, they're interested. If they are a buyer lead, they go get pre-qualified. I mean, this stuff takes 2 weeks just to, for all the communication to line up, the scheduling, and then you go look at the houses. And same kind of thing with selling. There's not a pre-qualification, obviously, but I mean, it's not, hey, Mr. Client, you give me my service fee and ad spend and, you make your money like the same day, right? This is like, hey, you may be investing, you may be front loading advertising spend and service fees for 90 days, maybe even 6 months, right? But if you know, do it right and properly and have the right client deliver a great service and stuff like that, their potential to earn is huge, right? Like with our investor clients, when they do a wholesale deal, I mean, they'll make 25, 30 grand. So if they spend money on ads and they spend, like let's say they spend 3 grand on ads a year, that's 36 grand, and they get one deal in the first 3 months. I mean, that pretty much pays for all the ad spend. And, they're definitely not limited to getting one deal in a year. It's just, from like the deal size, the ticket size is a lot larger, right? So I think that's a key point that I knew it, but no one explicitly told me how to really say that to my client and know that and believe that. And so I kind of was just like, man, dude, these clients aren't getting deals in the first month, and I'm just kind of doubting what I'm doing, and then doing this whole thing, right? Work with qualified clients. So my business changed when I started working with the right clients. So you want to qualify clients properly. Clients should also have had success with previous vendors. So if you hear clients that are talking to you about another ads agency or something, and they suck, they don't work, they get all this and that, just be aware of it. It doesn't mean that, this rule is absolutely true all the time. But my best clients have success with other vendors right now. So, we do Facebook, and pretty much all my clients also do Google, and they also do direct mail. They also have cold calling, right? And they're successful with all of these. Sometimes, sure, they make changes, they pause things or whatever, but I mean, they should be having success, right? So what I didn't know when I started was that. And so it was like, oh, they're not doing ads. They're not doing Zillow. They're doing nothing. This is the perfect person to go to, versus the person that's already investing into Zillow or whatever your niche is, right? And they're already investing into Facebook and some of these other services. And then you're coming and saying, hey, I'm an expert at this, and you're not doing this, but you're having success with these other things. Like, let's get these things to work together, right? So this isn't an explicit like law. It's just, if you're hearing someone just always complaining and never having success ever with a vendor or a agency or whatever you want to call them, you can obviously hold the highest intention for them to have success with you, but just be aware that, if someone's never succeeded ever and doesn't have a positive outlook on the people they've worked with, it's kind of something to, I guess, just be aware of, right? Clients should also have a team, so it shouldn't just be them. If you're doing some sort of Facebook ads services, where, Facebook ads, Google, whatever you're doing, right? Like if they're handling leads, they should have a team, because then they probably have an office, and then they probably have staff, and it doesn't need to be a huge team, but the client should be in the mindset of like a business owner. That's a key one. Client should be making, at least 20K minimum for done for you. I mean, sometimes it can go lower, obviously, but if a client isn't making, this should really be higher, but sometimes it's, it depends, right? But I mean, your client should be making good money, anything under like $250,000, I think is still, it's a smaller business. Maybe there's only one or two people. But when you have a client that's, 300, 500, or, a million or more, these are people that are, they've achieved a level of success. They have a certain mindset, they have a certain mentality, and that's going to help you get results because then you're not, the clients that I work with, they don't like trip on, a few days without a lead or whatever. I remember when I would, do, because I mean, I've switched this thing around so many times you wouldn't even believe it, but like I would do campaigns for people, one-off campaigns, and it was like within the first day, like, dude, I didn't get any leads, and it's like, and that would mess me up because then I would go and change it, and then I just, so when you're in like a constricted mentality from your client of like, get me results now, get me results fast, that's gonna kind of ruin your mojo, because you need space to work. So if you have a great system, I mean, it should work. Some people, it really, once you get it down, I mean, at the beginning, it seems very emotional, very confusing, very like there's no rhyme or reason to making all this stuff work. It's all a mystery. But once you really get the hang of it, it's like, oh, like, if someone doesn't get the result, it's probably most likely because they weren't the right fit in the first place. Because if your system is producing results and stuff, it like, yeah, it's probably gonna come down to who the person is you're allowing into the system. So vetting is important. Don't over vet when you're starting, because then you will have no one, especially if you've never done it before or gotten a result. Yeah, this one goes for what I moved above. So create a paid consulting offer. So, there's other ways for you to make money when you're doing outreach or whatever strategies you're doing to get that end, client, that real client you want to get. But you'll be learning from YouTube and courses or whatever. And so you're still valuable to the market. You have to prove that you're valuable enough to charge for, this particular system that you're creating, but you're still getting value. And if you're learning Go High Level, learning some stuff, you're still valuable to, a business owner. And you can tell them, hey, if you can't afford this, I think, with a few consulting calls, if I audited your accounts and stuff, I could show you some stuff that actually would help you. And that can help you too. I never really did that, but now looking back, I think had I had structure to this and this, I think I would have, I know I would have made more, because there were a lot of times where I was so focused on only making it a business that there were people that needed help on stuff. And obviously you have to be aware of going too far that direction, because then you're giving up and sacrificing like the real thing that you want. But I had time, and there were things that I could have told people, hey, you know what, and it would have been more seamless versus like, all these people just want, something else, and I just want this. And it would have been more like, if I had this in my back pocket, anytime that opportunity came up, I could have just been like, yeah, perfect. You're not a fit for like this service that I offer, but I love, checking out people's businesses, taking a look around at their system, their software, whatever they're doing. And there's usually a few things I can find to help them. And, I'd love to do a paid consulting, a few hours or whatever, 1 hour, an audit, whatever you structure this as. I definitely could have gotten a lot of people that I could have made a lot of people customers that I didn't, because I didn't do that. So, okay, knowing your audience as well, this is key. So, when you get real good at all of these things, you're going to know what you need to say and what you don't need to say. And, I think back then I used to just get so excited about what I knew that I would tell the prospect all of these things that I knew about this and that, and they could automate all these things. And now that I know my audience more, I really only say what I know they need to hear and want to hear to move forward and buy. So this is a key one to just be aware of. And then this last kind of block here is that results are a byproduct of your system and your services and your work. And I also believe your belief in the client and your intention, all of those things, plus the right client, not just you. So I used to think that since the system was the same, if I just got people, they should just get the result. But I've seen clients in the same target markets with the same system talk to the same lead and call me and tell me two totally different experiences. Dude, this lead does all the way in this area and da 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 da. The other guy, dude, I had a great conversation with this lead. I don't know if I can necessarily help him, but I have somebody, and they just made something work. So the right client is really, really key. And I wouldn't be the success in the sense, I don't like to say, oh, I'm the success, but I wouldn't be the success that I am within this model without the right client, for sure. Because I really did the best I could with people before. And I truly believe I was always good at making systems. I did self-sabotage my stuff and do those things I told you. So that prevented me from growing like a duplicatable business. But I was good at making systems and I built good stuff. I really believe that. So that right client key, right? Like locking into place was key, really key for me. And just results are number one. Obviously you have to market and eventually find a way to get traffic too. You can't just do nothing, but results equals retention. So people stay longer, which is kind of the equivalent to sales, right? If people stay longer, it's sales, right? If I kept every person I've ever done business with on some sort of subscription forever, I probably would never have to do anything again, right? If I could retain them. So, obviously the reality is people are going to leave regardless, right? That's just the nature of life, business evolution. But if you can retain well, that will get you referrals, and those referrals are usually somebody that's similar to the person that got the results because they're in their network, they're friends. And those people know more of those people, which gets you better clients, and better clients helps you get more results. So just wanted to drop this video on the YouTube channel, and hope you guys like it. If you guys want to join the free school group, there's a link below. That's it. Have a good one.